All right, we're going to go ahead and start the City Commission meeting tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Al, roll call.
Here.
Excuse me. Brunig.
Here.
Johnson.
Present.
Maibaum.
Present.
Minor.
Here.
Schramm. No contact with Schramm yet. Weber.
Here.
Villanueva.
Present.
Mayor Mosier.
Here.
City Manager Leon.
Here.
City Attorney Denherter. And again, no acknowledgement there yet.
No, he's in his car,
Mm-hmm.
trying to get online.
We'll just wait for response from them in a short little bit.
Sounds like they're in the waiting room. Dwayne's what I'm hearing. Okay.
There we go. Al, did you want to do roll call one more time?
We'll just go with the two that did not respond. Schramm.
Schramm, present.
City Attorney Denherter.
Denherter, present.
All right, next on the agenda is the approval of minutes of our regular meeting on August 23rd, 2021. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. And anybody abstaining? All right, moving on. Number 3 is the schedule of bills. What is your pleasure?
Move to pay the bills.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Anybody from the community want to make a comment on the bills? Al, roll call.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Brunig.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Maibaum.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Schramm.
Schramm, aye.
Weber.
Aye.
Mayor Mosier.
Aye, motion carries. Next on our agenda is a proclamation that we have for this week. And before I read that one, just to alert the commission, I was able to be at Ability Building Services this morning. They too are celebrating the week for their employees and the services that they provide out there. So I was there this morning and read a proclamation from Governor Nome, was the one I read this morning. So it was a true pleasure to be out there and to celebrate with them and all the good works that ABS does for our community and really keeping many people involved and thriving in our community. So it was fun to be a part of that. The one we actually have for tonight is about Welcome Week. Whereas in Yankton, our community's success depends on making sure that all residents and visitors feel welcome here. Throughout our history as an early Dakota territorial settlement, and through today in our growing global environment, newcomers are a vital part of our community, bringing fresh perspectives and new ideas, starting businesses, and contributing to to the vibrant diversity that we all value. Whereas this week we celebrate Welcoming Week, this Welcoming Week, let's declare that belonging begins with us, that each and every one of us has the power to help others, regardless of their background, to be seen, embraced, welcome, and included in our communities. Whereas we are proud to be part of Welcoming Week, by acknowledging belonging begins with us, we call for our neighborhoods, communities, and workplaces to be welcoming places where everyone belongs and thrives. Whereas Welcoming Week is an opportunity to celebrate the values that unite us as neighbors, parents, and colleagues, and to make our communities more welcoming to all those who call Yankton home. Now, therefore, I, Stephanie Mosier, Mayor of Yankton, South Dakota, do proclaim the week of September 13th, 2021 as Welcome Week in Yankton, South Dakota. I call upon all citizens, community agencies, religious organizations, and businesses to make the city of Yankton a more welcoming place for new and long-term residents. And with that, I would ask Sarah to come to the podium and give us an update on what they're doing to celebrate this week, and then I will give you the certificate.
Hi, my name's Sarah Brandt. I am the president of Connecting Cultures here in Yankton. We're excited. This is year 3 that we've been able to work with the city of Yankton to make this proclamation. And as I was preparing for tonight and what to say, your mission for the city of Yankton was at the bottom of the email, and it aligns directly with you guys that we want to make Yankton the place to provide exemplary services and spaces that create opportunities for everyone to learn. Connecting Cultures is a local group. We work with you guys. We work with businesses, organizations, and community members to make Yankton truly a place where everyone does feel welcome and celebrated. And then just a couple things that we're doing this week. First, we're sponsoring a Mount Marty soccer game here on Wednesday night, so come for free. We're gonna have water and pretzels. We are excited to support them. Carlos Sáenz is from Peru. He was an international student at Mount Marty, and so now he's working with us. He's an active Connecting Cultures member. There's a lot of international students, so we're extending a welcome to them as well. They are part of this community. And the other thing is we have welcome signs. You might have been seeing them around the community and businesses. So we have 2 options if anybody's interested in posting these in their businesses, or we have a large stencil that can be painted on an entryway. Currently, I don't know if you've seen it on your way into the Aquatic Center, also in Westside Park. It's gonna hopefully be added soon to a very Sacred Heart Hospital. We're excited to do that. So anybody's welcome to do that. Reach out to us. We can have that done for you. And then we are open to the public. If anybody here, anybody listening is interested in being a part of Connecting Cultures, hearing about other groups, celebrating, go to our Facebook group, Yankton, Connecting Cultures Yankton on Facebook. So that's what we have going on. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and to you and for others that are possibly watching or listening. There are other members here from Connecting Cultures, and I just want to say thank you to all the work. I know a lot of you have put in a lot of work to pull this together and to make sure that all citizens of Yankton are recognized, seen, and heard, and included in our community. And so thank you to all of you for your work on that. So I would ask that we give them an ovation for that.
So if any of you want them on your way out, they're free for anyone who'd like them.
Okay, Amy, if you think you can follow that, we'll turn that over to the City Manager Leon for the City Manager's report.
That's pretty tough, but I'm going to try. Before we get started with my update and a couple of updates from staff, let's just take a pause here. We're 20 years ago Saturday, marking, what happened, not just in New York City, but to our whole country. I think it's one of those events where we sort of mark time of our generation. Important from a community standpoint, but a national standpoint as well, and also a public safety standpoint. So I think it's important just to pause and recognize that as a body and just understand the magnitude of how that changed and shaped our lives forever. It still does. And certainly we don't forget, so we can tell the story of all those folks that paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country and their families as well. we have a couple of updates from a couple of Todds. So,
The Todd Show.
it is, for just a few minutes here before I give you some information. So Todd Larson, you're closest to the mic. How, after the whole year, I drove past today, the water's out of the aquatic center. That was very sad. But I think the commission and the public would like to hear how things went.
Good, so just some numbers for you. Again, always putting stuff in a historical context. Again, our busiest year had been 2017 when we were over 19,000. 2012 over 19,000, 2011, 2010. So we had a few years where we were over 19,000 people. We ended this year over 67,000 total attendance. And then when you start to break that down and look at where people were coming from, I know that was a lot of questions for people. So season pass holders, 79% of them were within city limits, and 92% of season pass holders were within Yankton County, which probably isn't surprising, pretty big number. 2.1% out of Knox County, with Crofton having 66 of those. 1.6% in Bonham County, Tabor having 38, 1.2% in Cedar County, Fordyce had 29, and then 1% in Clay County, so we actually sold 19 season passes to Vermilion. So interesting. When you look at day passes, again, anybody that bought a day pass had to give us their zip code when they, before they rang in and paid the bill. Day passes sold to residents in approximately 34 other states. 17% of the passes came from outside 57078, so that was about 3,600 passes outside of 57078. Again, 83% of the day passes were within city limits, so you're talking 16,914. Again, looking back through the years, we talked about that 19,000 to 20,000 for total attendance. Again, day passes this season, just inside city limits alone, were right around 17,000. Day passes, again, 1.8% out of Knox County, Nebraska. Niobrara had 73. 1.6% in Cedar County, Nebraska. Hartington, 176 of those. 1.5% came out of Olmsted County, Minnesota. We sold 315 passes to Rochester, Minnesota residents. They were here for baseball tournaments. And then 1.2% in Bonham County, South Dakota. So, and none of the towns showed up in the top 10 out of Bonham, so that was spread out. Some other towns that had numbers: Sioux Falls, South Dakota, 176 day passes. Lincoln, Nebraska, 113 day passes. Sioux City, Iowa, 108, and Norfolk, 74. So a little bit on attendance and day passes and where people came from. Concessions recap. Again, historically, some of our best years, we were just between 16 and 17,000 on total concessions deposits by the time we got to the end of the summer. Again, most of our numbers are in. These aren't concrete. Again, we take these out of the financial system, so if some things aren't quite through yet, but roughly $128,000 in total concession deposits. So again, if you think about those summers where we had $16,000 in total over the whole summer, in the abbreviated month of August, which only had 22 days of sales, we were at 26,500. So we did more in the month of August than we did all summers in the past for concessions. So concession-wise, just a few numbers again to throw at you. Our number one bestseller was also our cheapest item at Cup of Ice Water, $7,438. Mini Melts came in at number 2 with 6,502 sold. That was also our number one gross revenue. Again, these are gross. We haven't figured out all wages and invoices and all that kind of stuff yet. So we're talking gross revenue. Gross revenue number one at $22,573. Fountain drinks, we sold about 6,000 of those. That was our number 5 gross revenue at $11,968. Jumbo ice popsicles, 5,828 of them sold. Number 8 gross revenue, $58.28. Ices, we had small and larges. We lumped them together. 5,400 of those. That was our number 2 gross revenue at $15,821. And if any of you came to the facility, we had issues with that machine most of the summer. We didn't buy it. That's a machine that they give you to sell the product out of. So at the end of the summer, they finally got us a machine that ran most of the time, but unfortunately it was the end of summer. So we're hoping to sell a lot more ices next summer. Slice of pizza was next at 5,200 of those. That was our number 3 gross revenue, 15,600. Soft pretzels with cheese, 4,800 of those. Number 4 gross revenue, 14,526. Ice cream sandwiches and fudge bars, we lumped together. We sold about 3,300, a little over that. Number 9 gross revenue at $4,710. Hot dogs, 2,194. That was our number 7 gross revenue, $6,579. The last item to sell over 2,000 was Charleston Chews at 2,119. That was our number 1 candy seller. It was our number 10 gross revenue at $2,963. The last item to talk about is whole pizzas. We only sold 786 of those, but that made it our number 6 gross revenue at $11,775. So concessions, again, way back in time, we debated on whether we should do it or not do it. Again, we don't have all the numbers in, but we're looking at probably over 40,000 in net revenue on concessions at the concession stand when you figure in wages and product and things like that. So got to still figure that out. Again, we surpassed our goal of 3,000 season passes. We surpassed our goal of total daily passes, which was 15,400. We almost got to 21,000 total daily passes. So morning check-ins total for the entire summer, 8,330. So we averaged, again, we extended the season on water walking. The extended season is in that number. So 8,330 morning check-ins. That's not all water walkers. Some would have been lap swimmers. Some would have been swim team practice. We averaged 87 morning check-ins. So again, historically, compared to our other numbers, month of June, 28,000 in attendance. Month of July, a little over 24,000 in attendance, and in August we had a little over 14,000. So it was a good summer.
Todd, any lessons learned, big things you would say, we got to do this one thing differently?
No, we're hoping this year with the SAC and swim lessons and lifeguard training and water safety instructor training, we'll have a whole winter where they actually can work and get hours. Again, knock on wood, things could change, but hopefully if we have an open indoor season, lifeguards will get hours. They'll need to recertify. We'll have the classes. Hopefully people saw the facility and that will create some interest in those jobs. Again, there might be jobs in Yankton that pay better for a summer job, but if you like being around the kids and the water park and being outdoors, it was good that way. So we're hoping staff-wise, we go into the summer next year with more guards to just relieve some of the stress of so many hours just because we didn't have the number of guards we wanted to. Concession stand staff was good. Front desk staff was good. We were actually able to use some of those staff if they had first aid certifications and CPR certifications at the top of the water slide and at the bottom of the water slide up on the deck. You didn't have to be lifeguard certified. And when we started giving some hours to those employees, they would have rather have been out there than in the concession stand or at the front desk. So that was interesting. So we had a good year. Like I said, in the concession stand, front desk, we didn't have a problem staffing. So operation-wise, when it got real hot, the guards needed a little bit longer breaks, so we watched the temperature and the heat index to give them a little bit longer breaks. If we go from 10 minutes to 15, that's all based on heat and humidity. But otherwise, operation-wise, we didn't have a whole lot. Product in the concession stand, running out of some stuff. Like I said, the icy machine, not our issue. It is our issue, but not our machine. So hopefully now we have a better, newer machine and we won't have that issue. So no, not any major hiccups that we would say, oh, we got to do something different next summer. Again, as I spent time in the water park with my family, just amazed at the number of adults that would stand in line for the wiggle bridge, for the climbing wall, to go off the diving boards. Again, we wanted it for a family attraction, and I know, talked to a lot of people about the water slides. The kids loved them. Had some parents that after they went down the yellow slide, the body slide, wouldn't go down it again because it was dark and it was fast and it had some tight curves on it. People loved the tube slide, so overall, no, good summer.
Well, Todd, your staff and you did a great job, and I think our community needed it. And then especially after last year, needed it even more. So thank you for a great year.
Thank you.
Now, maybe not as fun as talking about aquatics. Todd Brandt, would you like to tell us how many ices the police department sold recently? Commander Brandt's going to give us a little bit of an update on some of the statistics in the police department. Chief Foote has been providing those to me, and I forward them on to you, but I thought it'd be valuable for the public in an effort to be a little more transparent, to hear a little bit more about what's going on in the PD and some of their numbers.
Well, good evening, Commissioners, Madam Mayor, City Manager Leone. I'll provide you with a brief overview of the August 2021 statistics that the Yankton Police Department compiles. In which, whoops, you shut me off. Now can you hear me? I'll provide you with a brief overview of the August 21 statistics for the Yankton Police Department. We keep these statistics for grant monies mainly, and to also evaluate what crime trends are appearing in our city. Typically, Sergeant Rothenberger does a fantastic job and submits these requests to the government, and we do 3 to 5 mobilizations within the city limits every year, and they're specifically targeting DUIs, speed enforcement, and seatbelt enforcement as well. Those grant funds help us out immensely. They've paid for our speed trailer, they paid for preliminary breath tests, the PBTs that we have in cars, as well as our radars, which are very costly items of equipment that we can get back in grant monies. So in addition, most importantly, our staff is compensated in overtime that, again, the federal government compensates us for. So it's a win-win generally for us, provides a little extra money for our officers to keep our city even safer. Page 1 gives you a general summary of incidents. We look at the amount of crashes and other miscellaneous data on page 1. To include, you may ask yourself, what are the, I believe it's called others, and foreign aid calls are typically calls that we receive from other agencies to assist them, for example, the Division of Criminal Investigation or other counties that we have different calls for. We also look at animals impounded at HHS to consider that due to the fact of our contractual issues we have with them. And you'll notice that the animals disposed, thankfully, is at 0, and that does include wild animals that we encounter in the public that from time to time do need to be disposed. So obviously we look at injuries, accidents, hit and runs, fatalities, and pedestrian accidents on page 1. Page 2, you'll see what that shows. Some of the notable increases are misdemeanor drug violations, the possessions of drug paraphernalia, what that is, and tobacco violations. And the reason you'll see the tobacco violations is increased is due to the fact that we have some very active SROs, as well as patrol officers that are doing their job and finding those under the age that aren't able to possess those items and citing them accordingly for that. And in addition to that, the SROs are also doing a fantastic job of educating our youth within our schools of the dangers of vaping, and that it's not just a innocent little puff of vape going inside of them. So they're doing a fantastic job of that. The numbers are increased as a result of that. If you look down there, you'll see other violations. We can't obviously list every violation we cite for, but some of the examples are parking in the alleys, right turn violations, and or racing on a public highway. Page 3 are compilations of adult arrests in August. And you'll see that others, like other charges we have on there too, are contempt of court. Again, we can't list everything on here, but they're the main ones that we want to track. You'll see that there's a significant increase in narcotic drug charges, or decrease, in narcotic drug charges, which we like to see always. An increase in warrant arrests, which last year with COVID, a lot of people weren't showing up for their court dates, and now they're starting to do a gathering of all those folks that missed their court time. So, going on to page 4, our juvenile arrests. We don't arrest juveniles for anything other than major felonies. So those numbers that you see on there are mostly citations that we issue the citation to the juvenile, and then they're turned over to their parent or custodian for their further dealing with. So we obviously like to see those numbers very low, so that we know that our juveniles are obviously our future, so we would like to see those numbers nice and low. Page 5 contains our calls for service, totaling what we've compilated for the entire month. Kind of a breakdown of that, you'll see there's 291 traffic stops. That equates to about 9.38 per day of traffic stops, which you break that down to the citation count, and that the officers are citing approximately 4 motorists per day within the city of Yankton. So not egregious, but just to let you know, they're still doing their jobs out there and doing a fine job of that as well. They also averaged a rest of about 2 per day as well, so still having to do some of the negative stuff as well, and taking people to jail. Page 6 are the breakdowns. 6 and 7 are the breakdowns of squad hours. And you'll see that there's some discrepancies and some differences in those, and that's because there's 2 night squads and 2 day squads. So the 2 night squads are Squad 2 and Squad 3, and Squad 1 and Squad 4 are the day squads. And you look through those citation counts and incidences, and you can see where they kind of match each other, which we look at too to make sure we have the squads balanced out with the appropriate amount of officers and the right officers for each squad. So that being said, we're still conducting business as usual now, and we look forward to any questions you may have.
I would like to ask how our new 4-legged officer is coming along.
Corona is doing well. I think his trainer's got a lot of work to do, but we're still working with him as well, and we'll still keep him. For now. Dylan, if you're watching.
Todd, I saw some headlines out of Mitchell today that they saw an increase in juvenile crime in the last year. I noticed the statistics through August of this year, looks like we have about half the arrests for juveniles. Did you notice an uptick in juvenile crime last year, or did we not experience that here?
I don't know that there's, without actually going back to last year's statistics to look at it, but typically, I don't know if Mitchell's doing it the same way as we are as far as arresting for only serious felonies. Yeah, being in the schools helps out a lot too. We don't do a lot of, I think we do a lot more preventative work by having those officers in there and developing those relationships, plus the community services that we do within our community as well, education aspects of it as well.
Other questions for Commander Brandt? Okay.
I was just going to note, I don't think your last page was included in our packet, whether or not that gets updated eventually or not. The section where it broke out officer hours.
If it wasn't, that was our fault, not Todd, so I'll make sure.
Yeah, there should be a total of 7 pages. So.
I'll make sure that gets to you. But I'll have to write it down or I won't remember here. Okay, thank you, Commander Brandt. Wanted to just give you a quick update and then I'll let you get to your business. Our mission is to provide exemplary experiences, services, and spaces that create opportunities for everyone to learn, engage, and thrive. And we will keep doing that. You will hear from RDG, if you have not already, about an interview regarding our strategic planning process. Nothing for you to prepare, just to have an open conversation. Maybe if you want to peruse over our last strategic planning document, great, it's on the website, and you all probably have a copy, but nothing that you don't already know the answer to. Our work session that is in your packet for consent is scheduled for 5:30. We have a very fun topic associated with FEMA floodplain mapping, and Dave Mingo and Brad Beast will be sharing some great things. Maybe we can have Todd bring some concessions or something, but it's good information, it's just complex, and it's hard to sort of pick apart. So we wanted to bring you more information and give you a lot of time to digest it and have conversation about it. You will have information in your work session file on the shared drive earlier than typical, so you can take an opportunity to read it and ask either Brad Bees or Dave Mingo questions about that coming up. Probably no work session then in October, since we're having our strategic planning, but we do have topics already lined up for coming months, so we'll have things to talk about. Next meeting, you'll be looking at our health insurance renewal. Our health insurance committee had received some proposals, both from our current provider, Health Partners, who came in at 15% increase, as well as from Avera Health Plans, which came in at a few percentage of a decrease. Also, they're offering, Avera Health Plan is offering a single fitness membership with Great Life included in that rate. So that's a significant cost savings. That will be the recommendation from the Health Committee. We did have, I think, one or two other providers submit, but they were just so out of realm that they weren't even worth talking about. So that's the recommendation for the similar type coverage. So you'll get the details in that, but just letting you know that ahead of time. Been asked by the media to share these numbers. I am having a hard time getting today's hospitalizations from the South Dakota Department of Health, but today it looks like in Yankton County we have 104 positive COVID-19 cases in our county, and I'm going to go with Friday's hospitalization number of 7. That could be north or south of that. I just can't get it loaded here for some reason. So letting folks know that information. Also, I did ask the mayor to sign an additional proclamation. Our community lost someone, Mr. Scott Lucan, who's definitely made his mark in the city of Yankton at our various parks and public spaces, and there is a celebration for him tomorrow, and former Commissioner Jake Hoffner will be reading the proclamation, and the family may choose to have this proclamation read here at this in this format at a later date, but with their connection to the Hoffners, we felt that appropriate. So staff's working on that, and certainly can't be in a park or open space here without seeing the way Mr. Lucan touched our community. So we extend our sympathies to his family and those who love him. Mayor, I will let you get to your business unless the commission has business or questions of me.
Does anybody have any additional questions for the city manager? All right, seeing none, we'll move along in our agenda. Now is the time and place for anybody in the public who would like to address the city commission on something not on the agenda. Seeing no movement, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Number 1 is setting the date of September 27, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. Here to go over, as City Manager Leone stated, the FEMA flood plan mapping plan. And that was the only agenda item.
Do we need to approve that, or is it just,
Do you want a motion to approve the consent agenda?
You don't really need a motion.
Okay.
You're just informing the public, so.
Perfect. Then we'll move on to old business. Number one under old business is consideration of Memorandum 21-191 regarding the request for a special events retail on-sale liquor license for one day, September 25th, 2021, from Ben's Brewing Company, Ben Hampton owner, for Zombies Realm at 101 East 3rd Street. What's your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any commission discussion? Anybody in the public like to address the commission? Al, roll call.
Benson.
Aye.
Brunig.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Schramm.
Schramm, aye.
Weber.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Mayor Moser.
Aye. Motion carries. Number two under old business is consideration of Memorandum 21-192 regarding the request for a special events retail on-sale liquor license for one day, September 25th, from Ben's Brewing at 222 West 3rd Street for Kramer Kenyon Heritage House at 509 Pine Street. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any commission discussion? Anybody in the public? Al, roll call.
Brunig.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Schramm.
Aye.
Weber.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Mayor Moser.
Aye. Number three, under old business, is consideration of Memorandum 21-193 regarding the request for a special events retail on-sale liquor license for one day, October 9th, 2021, from Ben's Brewing Company for an event at the NFAA, 800 Archery Lane. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any other commission discussion? Anybody in the public? Al, roll call.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Schramm.
Aye.
Weber.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Brunig.
Aye.
Mayor Moser.
Aye, motion carries. Number four is consideration of Memorandum 21-194 regarding the request for a new retail on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine license for July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022 from Backspace Brewing Company LLC, doing business as Backspace Brewing Company, Chris Allington, partner at 200 Walnut Street, Suite 103. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any commission discussion? Anybody in the public? Al, roll call.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Schramm.
Aye.
Weber.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Brunig.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mayor Moser.
Aye, motion carries. Number five under old business is a public hearing ordinance pertaining to proposed 2022 budget. A is a second reading and public hearing of ordinance 1055, an ordinance to appropriate monies for defraying the necessary expenses and liabilities of the city of Yankton for fiscal year beginning January 1, 2022 and ending December 31st, 2022, and providing for a levy of annual taxes for all funds created by an ordinance within said city. Part B to that is consideration of Resolution 21-75, adopting the 2022 fiscal year budget and directing the city manager to administer the budget as required by state law. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any commission discussion? I think we've spent quite a bit of time on the 2022 budget. Anybody in the public like to make a comment? All right, Al, roll call.
Minor.
Aye.
Schramm.
Aye.
Weber.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Brunig.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Mayor Moser.
Aye, the budget has been approved. Moving on to new business, number one is consideration of Memorandum 21-188 regarding Resolution 21-71, which is a plot and developers agreement for a property in the southwest one quarter of the northwest one quarter, except for KY&T addition. Address is the west side of the 1900 and 2000 blocks of Kellen Gross Drive. James Tramp and Jason Tramp LLC owners. What is your pleasure?
I'll make a motion as long as Dave tells me that the planning commission recommended we do so.
The Planning Commission and staff both recommend approval of the proposal.
All right, so moved. Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the commission? All right, anybody in the public like to make a comment? Al, roll call.
Schramm.
Aye.
Weber.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Brunig.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Mayor Mosher.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 2, under new business, is consideration of Memorandum 21-189 regarding Resolution 21-72 for the Martin Creek area, grant-eligible flood mitigation property acquisition of lots 1, 2, and the north 16 feet of Lot 3. Address is 601 East 8th Street. This is for at-risk Martin Creek area properties. Was budgeted $49,927. This is coming in about $29,500 over for a total of $79,427. In our minutes, it does say looking at FEMA funds and budgeted Martin Creek acquisition funds for payment of that. What is your pleasure?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Dave, I would ask maybe you could walk the city commission and the public through kind of what this is and why we see it coming in over.
Yeah, sure. Last year, about this time, we identified 6 at-risk properties based on how much money we thought we'd be able to access from the state for grant help to purchase the properties. 4 of those owners originally continued on through the process, and you saw the grant agreements associated with those 4 properties. 2 of the owners at the time, this being one of them, expressed that they weren't very interested in the program. One of them even signed a document removing their voluntary participation in the program. This property owner did not respond in writing, but we continued to talk to him because, as you know, we have a Martin Creek revitalization, stream bank revitalization project occurring right now. And this property is kind of a critical location for that. It's on the outer bend of part of the creek where there definitely needs to be some bank stabilization. So we kept the door open and had good dialogue with this owner through the process. It became evident about 2 or 3 weeks ago that there was going to be the potential for a dramatically different design associated with the revitalization project if we weren't able to acquire this property. So we contacted the owner again and negotiated an acquisition at an increased price, which in the long term will save the community money because our revitalization project will be less and easier to maintain. So they are on board with it at this point. It's still voluntary, so it's still eligible for all the grant money that it can be, and we have money in our Martin Creek property acquisition budget to cover the difference.
Thank you. Any other commission discussion? Okay, anybody in the public like to comment? All right, Al, roll call.
Weber.
Aye.
Villanueva.
Aye.
Benson.
Aye.
Brunig.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Mybom.
Aye.
Minor.
Aye.
Schramm.
Aye.
Mayor Mosher.
Aye, motion carries. Number 3 under new business is consideration of Memorandum 21-195, recommending approval of Resolution 21-73, terminating a land lease in Lower Yankton, an addition to the City of Yankton. City of Yankton leaser, Yankton Area Riverboat Days, Lease E. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any commission discussion? Dave, did you kind of want to explain anything? You're at the mic, or?
I can explain a little bit if you want some information for the public to receive.
Please.
The word termination is a kind of heavy word to use, but it was in the original contract as a way for this agreement to end. Specifically, the original lease contract with Riverboat Days said for it to end, a couple of things had to happen, and one of them is after the initial 2-year period was over, to let Riverboat Days have the option, if the city was agreeable, to continue on with the lease, or else provide them notification and that there's interest in the lease ending. And in this case, we've had ongoing discussions with the Riverboat Days Board of Directors and our president and vice president, I should say. And based on other things that are happening in the neighborhood and other opportunities that they foresee that they may have access to, they voluntarily agreed to submit a document stating that they would like the lease arrangement they have with the city to end. Again, emphasis on they see other opportunities that are potentially available to them. So this isn't the ending of that. I guess the ending here doesn't fit the word termination in my mind very well. That just seems kind of like a foreboding word that isn't really what's happening here.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Anybody in the public? Al, roll call.
Villanueva,
Abstain.
Benson,
Aye.
Brunig,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Mybom,
Aye.
Minor,
Aye.
Schramm,
Aye.
Weber,
Aye.
Mayor Mosher.
Aye, motion carries. Number 4 is consideration of Memorandum 21-196, recommending approval of Resolution 21-74, a transfer of approximately 1.3 acres of economic development property described as lots 6 through 13 in Block 47, which is to Yankton Thrive. The location is north of 2nd Street between Mulberry Street and Pearl Street. This is pertaining a third-party planning commercial occupancy, which meets previously identified Meridian District commercial development goals. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any commission discussion?
Is the owner or the potential owner with us this evening?
So we gave the third party the option of appearing here this evening, and he chose, since he's a little under the weather, to try and join us remotely. Are you out there, Mr. Third Party Developer?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
We hear you
can.
loud and clear.
I am here.
This would be the time for you to make any comments you may have.
Just appreciate the opportunity for the land acquisition so that can continue to take advantage of the momentum that's been happening in the Meridian District, and very excited to get the project underway immediately and see if we can just continue to grow our downtown area, Meridian District, and allow it to thrive and can continue to succeed.
So your name's not in any of the packet information. If you want to disclose your name and business and potential occupancies, this would be the time to do that also.
My name's Cody Richardson. I own Richardson Development LLC. I have a few other properties downtown, the former Ryan Oil Building, the current Great Life location at 201 Capitol, the year-round Brown Great Life location at 221 Capitol, and just want to continue to try and create great spaces for people to open businesses, and that's my objective, and that's what we'll be doing with this new development.
Cody, for the public, can you talk about your vision for the property?
I did provide a couple of renderings, but it's a little bit early because it did happen, the negotiations happened quickly, and we didn't want to make anything public until we knew for sure that everything was going to take place. But our vision, would be to create more retail, service, entertainment, dining businesses that would draw people to the Meridian District, not only from within our community, but outside our community. So I've visualized potentially 3 different buildings there. One will start immediately. It's actually the former museum at Westside Park. That will actually be moved on site, and then the facade will be completely redone with glass storefront and windows. And I did provide a rendering that shows what that'll look like. And then what we'll be doing is, marketing to potential business owners that think that would be a good location for them to operate their business.
Cody, this is Commissioner Johnson, and I just want to say thank you for your continued efforts to improve the downtown. I mean, you've already had a lot of success, which has translated into community success down there. And if this comes to fruition as your proposals outline, I think that's going to be a tremendous addition. And this property in particular, which is a brownfield property, the city of Yankton started working with the federal government in, I believe, 2004 to clean that up because it had industrial waste on it. So I think about all the hours Dave and other staff members have put into that partnership resulting in the cleanup. And now finally we're to a point where that property will be put to good use again. And I think, again, really improve the community. And the fact that you're taking the old museum and transitioning that into a new use is also pretty amazing. So just all around great project, and I hope it comes together.
Thank you.
Any other commission discussion? Al, roll call.
Probably should make sure there's nobody in the
Oh,
audience.
shoot, sorry. Charlie, did you have any comment? Al, roll call. Thank you for that reminder.
Certainly. Benson?
Aye.
Brunig?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Maibaum?
Aye.
Minor?
Aye.
Schramm?
Abstain, Business Association.
Weber?
Aye.
Villanueva?
Aye.
Mayor Mosher?
Aye, and I too, Cody, would like to echo what Commissioner Johnson said, to thank you for all the work and attention you've brought to our Meridian District. It certainly needed a good facelift, and you have been providing that. So best of luck to you and your future endeavors. Number 5 under new business is consideration of Memorandum 21-198 regarding Resolution 21-76, a conditional use permit for the addition of a 25-foot by 30-foot school-related structure at the site of Webster School. So it's the Yankton Independent School District as owner. The address is 317 East 7th Street. This is for a temporary classroom to be used during higher anticipated student populations. What is your pleasure?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any commission discussion?
It's a good problem to have. More
Yeah.
students.
I love hearing more students in our school district. I agree. I believe this is for a music room. I attended the school board meeting earlier today, and the principal there shared that the music room right now is in the gym. And so this will be needed space. So if anybody was wondering what that was for. Anybody else on the commission? Anybody in the public like to make a comment? All right, Al, roll call.
Brunig?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Maibaum?
Aye.
Minor?
Aye.
Schramm?
Aye.
Weber?
Aye.
Villanueva?
Aye.
Benson?
Aye.
Mayor Mosher?
Aye, motion carries. Number 6 under new business is for a discussion of the frontage property adjacent to the Yankton City Cemetery. This is city-owned Broadway Avenue frontage property adjacent, as I said, to the Yankton City Cemetery. Location is the east side of the 2500 and 2600 blocks of Broadway Avenue. What is your pleasure?
Madam Mayor, there's no need for a motion. We're
It's just for
looking
this-
for
Perfect.
kind of direction and commission's thoughts. So maybe if we can rely on Dave Mingo one more time to give us a little bit of history, and then we're just looking to see what you want us to do, if anything.
Yeah, as City Manager Leon said, this is just a discussion item. We fairly regularly at the staff level and in working with developers have inquiries about the property, the Broadway frontage property. There's somewhere over 7 acres, 7.3, 7.4 acres of frontage property west of the cemetery that is not occupied. It's not platted as cemetery ground. Doing the math, working with Todd Larson and his staff, not counting that 7.4 acres based on current interment trends. There's over 160 years of space in the Yankton City Cemetery located east of this land area. So, just since we get the question on a fairly regular basis and keeping track of the changes with interment types, we're just here to have an open discussion with you and answer any questions you may have about what a process may look like if you choose to move forward. The next thing I would say, if the commission did decide to move forward with some consideration, staff could develop a request for proposals that you could see at a future meeting and kind of work through details on and again, consider it multiple times over the coming months whether or not at any point in time you wanted to continue with the process or not talk about it anymore. So with that, I'd leave it open for your input.
So Dave, was it like 2007 when this was last discussed by the commission?
Yeah, that sounds about right. When Fire Station number 2, when that whole discussion was had, there was a thought of Fire Station number 2 maybe ending up on the south end of this property, and then the rest of it being available for discussion or for development. I've been here since '93. I think this has come up in commission chambers, like it's 3 or 4 times during that time, just in passing. And like I say, there's fairly regular questions from the private development sector about it and whether or not it would ever be available.
So Dave, can you talk at all about why they're interested in this property versus other Broadway frontage property that's available?
Well, south of 31st Street, this is almost the only larger tract of development property that's available. There's one to the west across the street that's south of the Holiday Inn Express. There's no other 5+ acre sort of development location. I, as you know, have steered as many of interested developers as possible north of 31st Street, but some folks have criteria where that's just not in their realm of location consideration that they want to talk about. We also try and steer people downtown as much as possible when there's, for instance, what we just considered here, an agenda item or 2 ago. I think the traffic count and the fact that elevation-wise, you look up at it from the highway, I think it's just a really attractive private development site to those folks that have that sort of vision in mind, and we just happen to be the owners of it.
And Dave, you brought up potentially putting out a request for proposals. Would there be like specifications in that request for proposal of types of businesses that would be allowed to put in a proposal, or is there a way to limit the scope of what types of businesses could go in there? And then are we required to have to pick one, or it could be presented to the commission and we could decline all proposals if it's something that we feel doesn't meet our mission?
All of that, the answer to that is yes. Yeah, definitely, if we get to a point where you direct city manager and staff to prepare an RFP, I would think you'd want to definitely identify things you don't want there, maybe more so than things you do want there, because we want to leave that window open for something we might not be thinking about, readily thinking about. I mean, obviously it's Broadway, so you're thinking about something taxable, as far as development is concerned. And there's probably a half a dozen things that any one of us can think of that we probably wouldn't want to see there, because we either already have a lot of them in town and, or for some other reason. So I think, yes, and that would be something you would include in the RFP, is probably a list of things that would not be eligible for consideration. And then, yeah, if you move forward with an RFP, you'd have covenants associated with it, so you'd have architectural control, just like we have on some other locations, except maybe even a little more in-depth and detail in this location, just because it is so visible. And then you would definitely also include in the RFP the provision that any and all proposals could be rejected without cause. So you would have that ultimate decision. It wouldn't be like a bid where you have to take the lowest bidder. This wouldn't be a you have to take the highest bidder thing. It would just be a kind of a fact-finding sort of RFP where you would get that information and see what the possibilities were, and if one of them looked good, you could move forward with that, and if none of them really met what your vision was for the site, you could reject them all.
Other discussion from the commission? This is a discussion period, so. Here comes the public.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to ask real quick. Could you repeat again what you said at the beginning? Our current cemetery, how many years ahead is it?
Yeah, not counting this approximate 7.4 acres, based on the current types and rate of interment, grave sites we're selling and the types of interment that are occurring. People are using less space in a cemetery now than they did 50 years ago for various reasons. There's over 160 years of inventory in the cemetery east of this location.
Other questions from the commission? All right. The public.
It's on. Charlie Gross, I don't know, 1510 Burley. In 2007, I was opposed to this when we were approached with someone wanted to put a shopping center or something like that, a building on Broadway. I'm going, with all respect to Todd's numbers, 100 years ago, my great-grandfather bought 36 lots. Those are now spoken for or occupied. And I'm going, if my kids want to come back, where are you going to put them? And so I would just leave it empty forever myself. I think selling off the frontage would be a big mistake for the long term. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? Thoughts from those that haven't commented? Is this something you are interested in moving forward with the city? Not interested in? We kind of need to give them direction.
As far as the direction that you would want from us, oh, sorry, go ahead, Mason.
Okay, thanks, Tony. This would be, in my mind, something I would encourage the city management, the manager's office to scope out what an RFP would look like, get some draft language together so we can review, because I do think it has opportunity to be very attractive property that we don't have currently in city limits. So I would be for an RFP process, at least to the point of we can review the language and decide what type of businesses that we would like to see or could see in that best use of that land.
I would agree.
To my left. Thoughts?
I guess I have feelings that I agree with it also. The frontage along Broadway, instead of it just being an open space, I think it could be something that could be a benefit to the community. That's not saying that having cemetery spaces is not a benefit to the community. I do believe that it is. But I also believe that the city is moving in directions outward. I think there will be opportunities in the future to be able to, if we are miscalculating on the 160 years, where we are going to have more of a demand, I think there's opportunity for additional cemetery lots as the community expands, which is what we're seeing. I mean, 31st Street, when I grew up, the drive-in was kind of the end of town, and the bowling alley was way out of town. So I think that there'll be opportunities in the future. I think this is a good opportunity to give a space for a retail business of some sort, which will add to our tax coffers, which we all get the benefit of seeing those numbers right now, and we want to be able to continue that growth. And I think it's a good opportunity for the city to encourage that.
I would say I think it's important to have this discussion, but I also think it's important that moving forward along with this discussion, we need to make sure that there's some type of buffer zone, for lack of a better word, to make sure that we're being very respectful of what's on the east side of the people that are already interred in the cemetery. That obviously that would most likely be at the developer's expense, but just to make sure that that is done very respectfully.
So essentially, we'd be changing the western boundary of the cemetery from Broadway Avenue to just west of the farthest paved lane in the cemetery. I understand why we would want to do it. I really want us to pay attention to the safeguards. I echo what Commissioner Villanueva says. I think it would have to be the perfect project to go in there. I'm not opposed to looking at the RFPs, but I would be very concerned about maintaining the sanctity of the cemetery.
Okay, so it sounds like, without a formal motion, we're in support of at least putting some language together in an RFP for the commission to look at, and then would encourage all of you to have discussions with constituents and get their thoughts as well as we work through this process. Even, I think the key here is what Mr. Mingo said, is even if we're looking for an RFP just to see what that perfect project might be, the answer could still be no from the city commission, and that gives me a little bit of a better feeling, as we move forward through this, to see what's out there, and if there's that project that we feel meets that space, and yet still respects the area that it's tied to, might be something the commission would look at.
What I would suggest, Mayor, is that we ask staff to put that together. We put it on an agenda item for you folks to discuss and for the public to come and visit about, now that they would know that what you're talking about, and then if you want to act on it, you can, or that can be done at a additional meeting as well.
Perfect.
So do we have a feeling for if this might be at our next meeting, or is it further
I
out than that?
think, I'm going to look at Dave here. I think I'm reading his mind when I say we could put something together using past RFPs and some of the things we heard here tonight by the 27th. So yes, at our next meeting, we can have a draft.
Okay. All right, moving on. Our next agenda item is other business, and there is no other business for the commission tonight. So with that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss contractual litigation and personal matters.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And anybody abstaining? All right. This meeting is adjourned.